Hi guys, welcome back. We've got a 2002 Pontiac Sunfire. This vehicle has had a AC compressor, receiver dryer, and a number of other parts thrown at it to get the AC working. Sorry. It's still not working. I brought it in and we started making some checks on it, and what I'm going to do is I want to show you where we're at. I just got a diagram. I did not hook up the gauges on this thing or anything yet. They said that they did fill it before they brought it. Whether or not that's true, I don't know, but I did look at the AC pressure sensor on this. We'll just take a quick look at the diagram and I'll show you where I'm at and what I'm doing, so you understand my logic here, I guess, or my thinking on this, on what it is that I'm doing. Okay, we'll just go with this AC clutch. All right, and again, simple setup here. You know, relay, switch, a couple of fuses, and I'm just checking basics here first. I just want to make sure where my baseline is. I noticed on the scan data my AC pressure switch is not reading properly. Okay, I'm sorry, the AC pressure sensor is not reading properly. So are we at a freon, or is there something else going on here? I already knew what direction I'm going. I'm going to the AC sensor first to check the circuit. Okay, it's a 3-wire sensor, but I just wanted to verify fuses. They're easy enough to check, right? Fuses are good. Go to the relay. I kicked the relay on manually by grounding my pin here at the dark green and white wire. All right, all I'm doing here is checking circuit integrity, make sure that the from the relay out to the compressor clutch that I'm good. All right, everything works, and it does. The compressor will kick on if I ground that. Okay, so just some quick tests that are going to take an extra 5 minutes to do, but I can verify this stuff quickly. So now, once I did that, this is where I'm heading. Okay, AC refrigerant pressure sensor. Okay, this is basically a pressure transducer. It's like the stuff that the guys are using for testing in cylinder pressures and all that type of stuff. But this is utilized in the circuit. Okay, so what do you have? You got 3 wires going to it. You have a red and black, which is the signal that's going to the PCM. That is what you're looking at. That wire, that is what you're looking at when you're looking at scan data right here. Okay, this input here, 37 at the PCM, so you would see that on the scan data. The other two wires for the circuit are the ground, which is low reference, and then that's a black wire, and then a gray wire, which is the 5-volt reference to the sensor. Okay, so this is just to keep in mind here, always be mindful of what you're checking. This is a AC diagram, AC compressor circuit diagram, okay? So if you look at this box, this is the computer. You see that, how it's boxed, and it's a broken line. It's not like this, okay? That's telling you it's only a partial diagram, which is obvious. That's PCM is going to be more than that, right? But what I want to do is I want to take a look at the PCM diagram. So I popped out, I have the Bosch hook up to this car, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Pin 23 is my AC pressure 5-volt reference. Okay, and that wire, I just wanted to make sure that wire does not splice anywhere else. It does not. It only goes, that is a dedicated 5-volt reference is what I'm getting at to this sensor. All right, so let's get this, let's make this simple. I'm going to turn the key on. Key's on. Have my meter hooked up here. And if you notice, I am at my gray wire, which was the 5-volt reference. I do have this unplugged at the moment. Now I'm at my ground, and my signal is obviously going to read 0. because I'm unplugged. Okay. Now I'm going to leave this on the signal and I'm going to plug it in. And I'm still at 0. I'm going to go back to my 5-volt reference. My 5-volt reference is still there. So what is that telling me? Well, that is telling me that 1, I have no refrigerant in this system, or 2, I have a broken sensor. Okay. So now I'm going to put the machine on here, and we're going to see what's going on, and if these guys were truthful in telling me that they actually filled this thing. And I'll get the machine hooked up, and we'll get back to it. Sort this A to Z. Which Auto would do that. AC relay command. Where's my pressure? I lost it now. There we go. A to Z, high side, pressure, sensor, relay, command, signal, and I think I think that's it, right? Yes, continue. All right. And that is absolutely broken. So, here's what I'm going to do. I'll show you guys a little tricky trick. Goofed, I should have had the camera on when I did this. Okay, so here's where I'm at. This is my sensor simulator, set at 1.8 volts. I can actually bring that down a little. Too much, very sensitive. Try that. And what I have is my meter is hooked up. My meter is hooked up in the wire, the signal wire, and I'm putting my voltage. If you watch it, I'll do it here. See how the voltage changes on this on the meter? I was monitoring the scan data, putting the voltage through the system, through the pigtail, and I have no change here, and I have no change at the scan data. I then just pulled on this, and the wire fell apart. This thing needs a pigtail. So, this is why you always check everything, not throw a sensor at it. All right? Hang tight, we're gonna fix this. All right. Got ourselves a pigtail plugged, soldered in, and again, this is the output. This is from my tool here, and I'm going to now show you. I'm going to touch this to the sensor signal, and you can watch the high side pressure here on the scan tool, and you'll see. Let's get you zoomed in. All right. And you'll see now that we do have a reading. Alright, and I can vary this. Obviously, if you watch me, I'm going to change the voltage here, and you can see it change up and down, okay? Depending, obviously, on how the signal would be. So, I'm going to plug this in. We'll see if we have air conditioning. Alright, and if you look, my AC is on, my clutch came on. It is ice cold. There's my high side pressure. You guys able to see this? Yeah, maybe. There we go. 150. 1.76 volts. Okay. All right, so we're clear. The voltage that I was simulating with the tool does not really matter. I was looking for a change. Okay, that's what I was trying to do. It's a good way to check the harness. You know, to make sure, as we saw here, if I would have put a switch in here, I would have been no closer to fixing this car, right? So this is why we test everything. We make sure the circuit is right before we assume that we have a faulty sensor or a faulty PCM or what have you, because this could have easily gotten a PCM if you don't know how to check it, right? It already got a compressor, so I'm sure that had to run a few $100s. So this is what I'm getting at. Always test and come to a conclusion. So this AC is working beautiful, nice and cold, and the pressure staying, 140 psi on the high side. I'm good with this. So I thought you guys would like this. That tool is very, very helpful. It's extremely useful for testing like this. And if you need a known voltage, you can simulate it easily and quickly, okay? And you can verify components, you can verify wiring integrity, so on and so forth. So if you guys don't have one of those sensor simulators, they're made by a couple of different companies. I do recommend having one in the toolbox. It's a very underutilized tool. And I mean, if you think about it, if you say you have a power probe, right? And guys are able to put power or ground to a circuit using the power probe. So you're putting 12 volts or ground. But when you need something in between, like say for instance that I lost my 5-volt reference from the computer. Well, what if I want to test and make sure that once I have that 5-volt reference signal that everything works? I can simulate that as well. I can plug in what I need to plug in, put the tool on it, on the 5-volt reference line, and I can run my own 5-volt reference off of that. That's just one of the things it can do, obviously. You can vary, obviously, sensor voltages or what have you to see if cooling fans work. There's a million uses for it. You guys are, once you have one, you'll figure out as you go along, and you'll say, oh man, I have that tool, let me go try it out on this, and it'll come to you. But it's a highly recommended tool as far as, from my standpoint. I think everybody should have one. Alright, so I'm going to go call this guy up, let him know that his air conditioning is functional, and get him out. So guys, thanks again for watching. Appreciate all the support. Don't forget to like and subscribe, share it, and I'll see you guys soon.